The Draco are a group of alien entities. They're highly psychic. They're several 100,000 years more advanced than we are. And they're also very, very, very negative entities. Their mission, if you will, is conquering, controlling, dominating.
Why don't the Draco just come in and conquer Earth? Why do they do it, use such subterfuge to rule us?
That's a great question. They're signatories to a number of intergalactic treaties that prevents them from...
Hey, Jason, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Jay, for having me.
Let's get to the 1991 agreement.
Sure.
What is that?
The 1991 agreement has to do with an arrangement made between the Cabal and what is now referred to as the Mars Germans, since they moved pretty much the bulk of their civilization out of Antarctica to Mars. And so what it revolves around is the late 80s, the Cabal was looking to establish their own lunar operations command, their own moon base, and they ran up against the same problem the Germans had years before. It's all spoken for. So they've got to bribe, pay, or arrange somebody else to give up property. And so the Germans, having their established base there, already had a place that was workable. And so the 1991 agreement between the Cabal and the Mars Germans has to do with the Cabal taking over the lunar base that the Germans occupied. The terms of their lease with the Draco were that they were required to have a 100-year lease, and the payments for those were already taken care of, so the Cabal didn't have to pay for it. But the Germans did have to find a new tenant. They'd moved out of that base. They wanted to be away from the Draco. So with another technology transfer, they got some more land where they wanted away from the Draco. On the moon? On the moon.
Okay.
And so the terms of that, getting out of that lease, is they had to find a new tenant.
Right.
So at the end of the 80s, it was around the time that Operation Solar Warden was in full swing, and they really needed a base on the moon. And so they worked out with the Antarctic Germans an exchange, again, for taking over the property. This time, the exchange was for the Cabal to provide 2 divisions, or the equivalent of 24,000 soldiers, for use where and when the Antarctic Mars Germans needed them. In order for the Mars Germans to get out of their lunar base with the Draco, in addition to finding another tenant, they had to provide 10 of their 12 carrier battle groups to the use of the Draco where and when as they needed. They weren't going to destroy them, but the Draco wanted to use them, and whenever they asked what they were going to be used for, they told them border patrol. The agreement between the Cabal and the Mars Germans included the use of the Lunar Operations Command in exchange for 24,000 soldiers. And that is what constituted the beginnings of the Interplanetary Defense and Reaction Forces. There are a total of 4 divisions of ground troops in that program. 2 divisions are wholly and completely manned by Mars Germans. There are no other soldiers in it. 2 divisions are mixed, and they include soldiers from Earth.
What year did you finally get into IDARF?
I started training for IDARF in 1994.
1994.
One of the first.
One of the first. Tell me exactly what you did for this organization, IDARF.
Sure. Well, the way that IDARF is arranged, the organization, is that any officer rank 05 and above, which is lieutenant colonel and up, through the colonel and generals, are specifically and only Mars Germans. They did not allow any other citizen to be, or soldier, to be above the rank of major. So what I did was, along with the other Earth soldiers, is that we filled out the ranks, basically.
Right.
They were enlisted, they were officers. Being an officer, I was required to be in charge of a platoon. Later on, as a company XO, as a company commander, as a battalion staff officer, as a battalion executive officer when I was a major, as a regimental staff officer, and then eventually back into the training regiment as a company commander and as a staff officer.
Taking orders from the Germans?
Taking orders from the Germans.
How did you get along with the Germans?
Well, I get along with just about anybody.
Yeah.
Dealing with the German chain of command was challenging in and of itself, make no mistake about that. Because I was from Earth, I was already in their eyes handicapped. And so anything and everything that they wanted to blame on Earth soldiers, be it officer or enlisted, they did. And they were petty, or some of them were, very buried animosities that came out, again, because of their extreme dislike of the Cabal. And so we were the next extension of that.
So why did the Germans allow the Cabal and the others, the United States, to form a separate secret space program? Why didn't they just wipe it out before it got started?
That's a great question, and I've wondered that myself. And when I had asked Johann about that, his answer was that they needed the production capabilities of this planet because they didn't have an equivalent manufacturing capability. And also, they didn't have the wide range of R&D available. And so having co-opted all the corporations on this planet, they had that vast resource that was available to them.
You keep bringing up the Draco. Why should we be concerned about them?
The Draco are a group of alien entities. They're highly psychic. They're several 100,000 years more advanced than we are. And they're also very, very, very negative entities. Their mission, if you will, is conquering, controlling, dominating. That is what that's their MO. And so being able to conquer, dominate, and control the Earth has been one of the goals that they've had. And so by using their proxies, either willingly or unwillingly, they've been able to try and further that particular agenda.
So the Draco have been around hanging with us for a while?
They've been around for quite a while. They're extremely frightening, and part of the training I went through included a number of what would be considered really scary aliens, as far as preparing the soldiers for battling, encountering, fighting, communicating. So yes.
Why don't the Draco just come in and conquer Earth? Why do they do it, use such subterfuge to rule us?
That's a great question, and ties in also with why didn't they go and dig up this ancient technology themselves? They're signatories to a number of intergalactic treaties that prevents them from interfacing, interacting, or tampering with indigenous populations or their planet. Now, does it mean they follow that? No, it doesn't. They found loopholes or ways around it, and the way that they've been able to do that most effectively here has been through their human proxies, and been able to control and manipulate and do whatever it is that they needed to have done. And for the Draco, they needed these fleets of ships and the ground soldiers that came with them, the IDARF, because for one thing, the human shape and pattern tends to be a common blueprint. And so we look a lot more like the other planetary inhabitants than they do. Mm-hmm. And so the other thing is that why would they want to kill off their own soldiers when they've got proxies that are willing to do it for them?
Right. You're trained here on Earth for a while, then you went to the moon and trained, and then you went to Mars and trained.
That's correct.
So what was your training like on the moon?
The moon training revolved around getting us oriented to shipboard operations. Even though we're technically just catching a ride from the canners, we still needed to know the emergency procedures, evacuation procedures, what was the water lines versus power, areas that we shouldn't go in and around, emergency evacuations, firefighting, all the different things that as a visitor on board of a not so safe all the time spaceship, you need to know and what and where and how to go about doing what you need to do.
And this took place on the Cabal's base on the moon that they had gotten from the Germans? That's
correct.
And what was the base like? I mean, what was just like the buildings like, and what was it?
Well, it was underground, and the one that I was going into when I wasn't in the underground base, I was on board a ship. You know, they believed in train like you fight, so most of the training that we took part in was on board a training ship that they used for those purposes.
Not on the moon?
Not on the moon surface itself.
Right. What were these ships like?
Cramped. It's about like being on board a U.S. Navy ship, and you go in, it's not much room getting through a door. There are bulkheads all over the place from safety perspective, so they can seal off different parts of the ship.
When you were training on the moon, you were still under the auspices of these Germans in command?
Yes.
I see.
Still under their command.
Right.
Still under their control and their rules. And some of the moon training included orientation to microgravity operations, getting more familiarized with our battle suits, our combat suits.
How long did it take you to go from the Earth to the moon?
Minutes,
if
minute. That.
Here's a section from that hypnosis session.
Tell me about your first move as a group to another planet, which one it was.
The first move was to the moon.
Mm-hmm.
It was all by shuttle.
From where?
From Area 51.
Mm-hmm.
I thought. We transitioned from the underground base to Area 51. That was our departure point, Nevada desert.
Desert. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we flew from there by shuttle up to the Lunar Operations Command,
mm-hmm.
where our next training began.
Mm-hmm.
And we stayed there for 6 months,
mm-hmm.
learning about microgravity,
mm-hmm.
learning about pros and cons
mm-hmm.
to each of the systems.
Mm-hmm. Was this taking place in like a classroom?
Sometime.
Where else was it taking place?
They also had us on ships in space.
Oh, in space, okay. What did they look like?
Triangular, large.
Mm-hmm.
Smooth sides.
Mm-hmm.
Wedge.
Mm-hmm.
Almost wedge-shaped.
Mm-hmm.
These were huge.
Okay.
Big.
Okay.
There were only about 20-something of us left.
How many?
26.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Out of the 34.
Mm-hmm.
Not all of them died, though.
So after you got done training on the moon, you went to Mars and trained?
It was more of interface between ship to ground. So it was incorporating the prior two training bases into the new one, which involved, departing the ship, how you do combat drops, what you do for a combat drop, where you go, the different aspects to getting out of the shuttle or jumping out of the shuttle or coming down on the gliders that we used or the antigrav packs for shooting out, basically.
Wow, crazy. So what was the base on Mars like?
Again, most of the time on Mars that I spent was on board a ship. I saw entrances to facilities, and that's about all I was able to see. Most of the other time, we were out in the boonies.
Right. What was it like being on the surface of Mars?
It's about like walking through a desert with rocks and canyons, and there's an otherworldly presence to it. What look like washouts, but are depressions in the surface.
Could you breathe?
We didn't.
You didn't. You had a helmet set.
Yeah.
Just makes it easier. Could you take your helmet off and breathe?
We were told never to, so we didn't.
Were there other alien groups on Mars?
From what I understand, there were, but I never saw them.
Were they fighting? Or any kind of fighting going on?
Mm-hmm.
None. Never. Everybody lived in peace.
Everybody coexisted, and whether it was peaceful or not, I never saw it. We were always out in a training area.
You know where they got their water?
They recycled a lot of the waste and used it for water. I understand that some of the water came from the locked up ice that was part of Mars.
Right.
But a lot of the supplies that we used were just recycled materials.
You spent how much time on Mars training?
4 months.
4 months. Again, we'll take a look at your hypnosis session.
Tell me about the time that you went to another planet. What did you do? You mentioned Mars before.
Yes. I went to Mars after the moon.
After the moon?
To do more zero gravity training, microgravity training, to do more ship ops, to be able to do more ground ops.
What did the people look like on Mars? The beings?
I only saw humans. And we were kept isolated.
Oh, okay.
The Germans have 2 bases, 2 cities there.
The Germans had 2 bases?
2 cities, really big ones.
What were the Germans doing there?
Living.
Are these above ground or underground, these bases?
Underground.
Underground.
New Berlin. New Wurzburg.
What's above ground if the bases were underground?
Radiation shielding. Dirt. Rock. They have entrances that breach the surface. And they do have some structures. But they're mostly mechanical.
So where do the inhabitants live?
Below ground. Bases carved out of the rock.
What did Johann tell you about the Mars base, if anything?
He didn't tell me much at all. And part of that, I think, is some of his own programming that he's not allowed to talk about, because they very closely guard any information about New Berlin or New Wurzburg.
Those are the titles of the cities?
Those are the 2 cities. My unit was the 3rd Panzer Division, and they were referred to as the Berlin Bears. When they started their own military force, the Mars Germans, they took over, inherited, copied a lot of the original World War II German units, insignia, symbols, including their uniforms. Unfortunately, our dress uniform, one of them was looked just like the black SS uniform. And the Americans wouldn't wear them unless they were ordered to.
You spent how much time on Mars training?
4 months.
4 months. And at the end, you were finally deployed?
At the end of that, I was finally deployed.
Anything about Mars that you can remember that we need to know?
It's occupied, and there are more than just humans there. The Mars Germans have about 3 million citizens that live on Mars, from what Johann was telling me.
If you enjoyed this, make sure to watch the next video on AwakenZone. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell, but you won't want to miss what's coming next.